Welcome back to another episode of the Nick Cage Fight Podcast. We're here today to conclude our review synopsis of The Boy in Blue, which is a Nick Cage movie about a dude who rows real good without greasing his bottom. So, yeah. I'm one of your hosts, Josh, joined as always by my greasy bottom boys, Rich and Ryan. How are we both feeling, or how are you two feeling about wrapping up this particular review?
I'm very greased.
I am a pissy partner and a fart catcher.
I'm sliding around on my chair right now because honestly, I think these dudes were onto something about greasing their bottoms.
Yeah, we should have
You
been
never
doing this
know.
for years.
When you gotta like slip out of a situation, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
On a bus
The
bench,
world is your slip and
specifically.
slide.
I agree with that. So where we last left off, Hanlon had placed in the initial race on the Schuylkill River, or how's it actually pronounced, Rich? School us on this.
Schuylkill.
The Schuylkill River.
But that's
I thought
only
it was Scahoikel.
Schuylkill. That's only if you have hoagie mouth, though. It's a very
Gotcha. I
very...
did like Ryan's what's the name of the professor in The Simpsons?
Oh, Professor Frink.
There you go.
Yeah.
The Frink pronunciation is my
Ahoy.
favorite thus far.
I believe it's called Frinkian.
Frinkian, yes.
There
Yes.
you go. It's not a Simpsons podcast, people. Calm down.
I mean, we talk about The Simpsons
We do.
pretty
Oh
frequently.
no, my fire alarm's going off. Hang on, let me make sure I'm not dying.
Oh wait, that's real? Is
Oh,
hopefully Carol's just cooking something.
yeah.
My smoke alarms go off every time we cook meat in the house, despite having a functioning hood. So we've resorted to unsafe tactics. All of our fire alarms or smoke detectors are not attached to a ceiling. They're within easy arm's reach so we can silence them.
Fair.
Okay, I'm not dying. Everything's fine.
Good to hear.
Oh, it was just a test drill.
For
Yeah,
me,
well,
fish
so-
always triggers mine because I always do that high sear on the skin to get that nice and crispy.
Well, this
That's
is
the
what's
way to
going
go.
on right now. Another bit of rich lore. So our oven is broken, but it's broken in a very weird way. That if we have an electric oven, if it's just plugged in, and if the oven is just getting power, the oven just heats up for no reason to an infinite temperature.
That's
so
super
it's always
dangerous.
oven the hot.
So what we do when we have to like real quick like cook food like pasta or eggs, it has its own independent breaker that we just leave off all the time, constantly.
So you can't oven the cold food, out hot eat the food.
Correct. And when we need it, we just flip the breaker real quick, use it, and then flip it back off until we get a new oven because we're poor. We're a bunch of poors.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, I am so scared by that description. I might buy you guys an induction heater hot plate. I want you to leave that breaker off until that oven is replaced. Good God, man.
We are really not using it. We tried going to the Habitat for Humanity home store and they didn't have the right oven.
Oh, I love the Restore. The Restore is great.
It's a great store, but the ovens that they have were they were too thick. The booty was too plentiful on them.
Keep your eye out on Craigslist. I got mine for free because someone was just like remodeling a kitchen and getting rid of one that was still in working condition for an electric oven stove deal.
Huh. Well, you know who didn't have these kinds of problems?
Ned Hanlon.
I was going to start off by saying the people who support this podcast, but it's way too early for a break. So yeah, Ned Hanlon also did not have this problem.
Ned Hanlon didn't know what electricity was. He just knew how to row.
I feel like Ned Hanlon got most of his caloric intake just from booze.
From just moonshine. That's why he's half blind.
But before you judge him, that's how humanity built the pyramids. I mean, booze and slave labor, but still, booze was a big part of it. So
it was at least a solid 12%.
You got to have that super frothy, low ABV beer.
Yeah. Liquid bread, baby.
Yep.
Okay. So Hanlon places And that evening, McCoy, Hanlon, and what's his name? Walter? Is that right?
The shipbuilder.
The
I think it
boat
was
maker.
Walter. Yeah.
Yeah, Walter.
So they're at a bar, which is where you traditionally go to celebrate victories. And McCoy tells Hanlon that he just turned down a lucrative offer to get Hanlon to throw the next race to game the gambling, which is a running theme in this film. Back in the day, man, if you bet on anything and you didn't have an inside line, you were a fucking sucker. That's what I took away from this.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that can't possibly be true today, right? It's not the same. Everything isn't gamed, right? Right?
I will neither confirm nor deny.
Sorry, I'm talking directly to our listeners that have a DraftKings account. So a drink gets sent over to Hanlon, but before he even gets to take a sip, a newspaper reporter sits down to start interviewing him. And Walter, being the sly little fox that he is, hands the reporter the drink that was meant for Hanlon. The reporter indicates that Hanlon now has a nickname among the populace. And Hanlon's initial response is like, the Blue Flash? Because we didn't cover the scene specifically, but McCoy gives him like a baby blue fucking sweater vest.
Well, he wants it to be the blue Flash, but he is the boy in blue.
Exactly. So like Hanlon's like, the Blue Flash, and he's like, no, the boy in blue, the teeny tiny baby boy in blue. And Hanlon is clearly dismayed.
Little boy, baby boy, he needs blue.
Yeah. So the reporter drinks the drink, asks a couple questions, but the interview is interrupted when the reporter gets up, burps a couple of times, coughs a couple of times, and then collapses completely. So it's clear that the free drink was a ploy to keep Hanlon from racing the next day.
There is some tomfoolery afoot.
Of course, there's some scheming and some
chicanery.
Yeah, exactly.
He was hoodwinked. Run amok.
He
didn't land on Plymouth Rock.
Faces. We gotta do this more. We gotta bring him back, dude. But we have to do our research beforehand to see whether or not they're fucking racist or anti-Semitic. Old timey phrases are littered with that shit.
Yeah.
But there is a funny bit that I want to mention because there's a callback later in the film where the guys who contrived to keep Hanlon from racing like all stand up afterwards. And McCoy's like, you take the three on the right. There's only three of them. And McCoy's like, you take the three on the right. And they both just run away from the bar, which is funny. What's next is another raunchy scene, which again could have easily been cut with no repercussions to the overall movie itself.
Well, no. How else would you know that Ned Hanlon fucks?
It would have, well, because we already saw a fucking scene. But I will say cutting the scene would have deprived me of a belly laugh chuckle in that these goons are chasing them through the alley. They come around a corner and there's a man whose face is turned away from them with his pants around his ankles and his bare buttocks exposed to the camera, having sex with a prostitute in the alley. And the goons are like, this is clearly not our guy. And they leave. And after they leave, we see that the man with the pants around his ankles is McCoy. And from coughing, sputtering, and then pulling himself underneath all of the layers of frilly lace and dress comes Hanlon, who is hiding under the prostitute's dress at the time. And he's like, I couldn't breathe under there. And McCoy's like, I'm pretty sure you liked it. Also, there's a great line in here where McCoy is like, my darling, you're a wonderful actress. And she's like, I am an actress.
I didn't catch that one. That is pretty good.
That one got me. So they go to leave the alley. Unfortunately, they're waylaid by an individual who grabs McCoy, twists his arm up behind him and says, which one of you is Hanlon? And McCoy very wisely is like, I'm McCoy. And the goon
I'm Hanlon.
Oh yeah, I'm Hanlon. And the goon breaks McCoy's arm, leaving Hanlon's arms perfectly race capable for the next day. So the next day, Hanlon races and he wins first place. And we get an absolutely adorable pre-teeth fix Nick Cage grin. I liked it.
I did appreciate that this was pre fixing the teeth, because his teeth are still all jacked up, and I like a jacked up teeth Nick Cage.
Oh yeah.
Also, like, the smile is just incredibly endearing. I mean, everything else about the movie aside, that still frame is fantastic and I think important to the overall legacy of Nick Cage. I mean, he was still making his bones at this point, right?
I honestly think if he hadn't gotten the teeth fix, that would have been one of his like well-known features.
It would have.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it was a platform that I think he launched off of.
Yeah, like some actors and actresses, they have like that one thing that's kind of off about them, but that makes them endearing. One of my favorites is Beatrice Dahl. She's got that big old gap between her two front teeth, and I think that makes her a more interesting presence on screen than if she had perfect teeth.
Now, I don't want to incorrectly malign at this point, but so please correct me if I'm wrong, but Kirsten Dunst has always had a little bit of a overlapped incisor.
I'm not 100% sure. I never really paid that much attention to her when she wasn't in a Spider-Man movie.
Well, I mean, the Spider-Man movies is what I remember it from, but I don't recall her ever having that explicitly fixed, and it was always endearing. I mean, like, little characteristics like this, you tend to think of them as physical flaws, but they're actually just adding some personality.
And some character. Yeah, they're like fucking Forrest Whitaker's eye.
Correct.
That's like the big one that I think of when it's like something that is not perfectly beautiful about a person, but definitely adds to their character as an actor. Honestly, I think Forrest Whitaker would not be as intriguing of an actor if he didn't have that kind of like that eye thing going on.
I agree. And I want to preface what I'm about to say with the fact that I love him as an actor. Don't even get me started on Ghost Dog, please. The number of times I've gifted the Blu-ray of that film to people
it's one of the better Jim Jarmusch films.
Fantastic flick. Also, fun fact, my brother, for my last birthday, he got me a custom. So you guys know I do weird cocktails. Making cocktails is a hobby of mine. He got me a strainer, where the strainer is a samurai mask face, and the drink pours through the mouth.
That's pretty dope.
Got custom engraved on the back one of the quotes from Hagakure, which was 100% inspired because I was on a Ghost Dog run at the time.
Yeah.
So very cool. But that being said, one of my favorite bits about Forrest Whitaker was the phone lock screen that up until 419 was one half of Forrest Whitaker's face, and from 420 on was the other half of Forrest Whitaker's face.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, there's a great grin from Nick Cage playing Hanlon at the conclusion of this race. It's a great scene. So Hanlon goes back to Canada after winning this race in Philadelphia, and he rides back with McCoy. And when they arrive at the docks, there are a bunch of cops on the docks, and Hanlon has a brief moment where he freaks out, but the docks are all also swarmed with a number of people, fans, who are super excited to see him back home. So McCoy just tells him to act like a hero, and he does. He descends the stairs. There is a literal marching band ready to welcome him back. And my note here is, it appears at this point in time, Canada is very similar to America in that you can get away with some minor crimes, especially if you're a famous athlete. So instead of being arrested, Hanlon has a ceremony thrown for him where he's given a medal upon his return. He gets on a carriage and throws the medal to McCoy as he rides away. McCoy puts the medal around the neck of Hanlon's girlfriend, Dulcie, who looks like she is going to be an ex very soon, since Hanlon seems caught up in the rush of sudden fame. So at this point, Knox enters the story again, and asks to speak with McCoy and Hanlon. And I know you're wondering, dear listener, what does Knox want to talk to McCoy and Hanlon about? Well, I will tell you. He wants to talk to them about goods and services. That's right. Thought I was going to continue with the plot, but we're at an ad break. If you don't want to deal with these ad breaks, we have a special sale going on right now until Rich decides to pull the plug on it. So do you want to rest
And you never know when that
your
is. You never
future
know.
financial security on the whims of a madman, or do you want to pull the trigger right now and for $1 subscribe to our Patreon and contribute to our counter that ultimately concludes with Ryan having to beat the world speed run record for the G-Force video games?
I'll do it to me. I will.
I ask you, listener, to consider this very carefully. And while you're considering it, listen to these ads, probably for BYU, or inviting you to apply to ICE, or maybe go to Lancaster for a vacation. I don't know. Dealer's choice. But listen to these.
That was smooth as fuck.
So Knox actually didn't want to lead into our ad break. We made him do that because he's a fictional rich guy. And
Really? I could have sworn that he had mentioned something about a podcast that was being done in the year 2023.
See, I led you to believe that, and that's just showbiz, baby. But what actually
That's the prestige.
what Knox really wanted to do is essentially he wants to own the contract on Hanlon as a professional sculler, like he does with thoroughbred racing horses. This is portrayed in the most ham-fisted way you could imagine, because in the scene where he makes his pitch, he is showing off one of his thoroughbred racing horses. So, very upfront in how he views other people. This guy who dropped the equivalent of over 100 grand on No Names Racing, originally in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
That being said, we are introduced to another pivotal character at this point in time. Knox has a niece. That niece's name is Margaret, and Hanlon has been eyeballing her since his medal ceremony when he first got off the boat back in Canada.
Well, it's a complete 1876 smoke show, so
Yeah. That's a fair assessment. So Knox indicates that a benefactor of his stature can help with some of Hanlon's pending legal problems. Just because there were too many fans for him to have been arrested when he got off the boat doesn't mean that his previous brushes with the law are forgiven carte blanche. McCoy is hesitant. He thinks Knox is kind of a sleaze, which is accurate and true. But primarily, McCoy is looking out for himself a bit. It becomes more and more apparent as the film continues. However, Hanlon is fully just enamored, pussy crazy, some might say. He is all about Margaret.
He's lost in the sauce.
Yeah. He even invites Margaret out on a little boat trip with full intentions to seduce her. And we get another pretty funny scene here where he does take her out on a rowboat down a river. But Margaret brings along Auntie Gert, which 10 out of 10 on the character naming
on
here.
the name.
Yeah.
Oh, there was something
Agreed.
I was going to bring up at the end of last episode when they were in Philadelphia after Hanlon won the big race, and they were selling all this Hanlon stuff. somebody was selling Ned Hanlon
Was it the
fucking
pillowcases? Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, what's a Ned
Yeah.
Hanlon pillowcase?
No. You don't understand. This is just the anime fucking body
They're
pillow
body
of
pillows.
the 1800s.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Amazing.
This is my
Like
Japanese. This is my Japanese body pillow, Kamiko-san.
Yeah.
You're being such a non-pillow right now.
It's just for all y'all hikikomoris out there.
Oh, I don't know enough weeb speak to make more jokes about this. I
That
feel
was
like there's some
that was just a 30 Rock joke because
Okay.
they had James Franco playing a weird sex pest before we knew he was a weird sex pest.
well, they
Yeah.
clearly haven't seen the movie Sunny.
Yeah, it should have been known.
Hates it when people take cough syrup.
What is
So,
this, drugs? It's
there
cough syrup.
there is a great bit where like Margaret sort of like prods Hanlon and trying to kiss her, and when he leans in, she's like, Auntie Gert, isn't the river so beautiful? And this super decrepit old lady who's nodding off in the boat is like, oh yes, this is fantastic. So Margaret's got some jokes. That's what I took away from this scene. So after this, there is a garden party. And here is where we get a weird but slightly unexplored theme of class relations in this film.
So
Are we gonna
also
go there?
real
Of
real
course we are.
quick, before we get into this, when I was trying to find this movie, I found the preview of it. Like they would show in theaters, like 2-minute preview. And the first 45 seconds of this preview is just like this scene where it's like Ned Hanlon was a world champion sculler. But first he had to overcome his sexual desires and his desires to fit in and his desires to not it was like the weirdest shit, but it was all just 3 minutes from this scene just cut up. It was fucking great.
He doesn't overcome any of that at any point in the film, which is amazing. But yeah, so we get an entire garden party scene where they're playing croquet. Is that the right pronunciation?
I believe it's pronounced croquet.
It's croquette.
That's where you fry mashed potatoes, right, into a little puck.
Yeah, and you put chicken inside of it, maybe a little rice. It's real good. Serve it with a gravy.
I feel like we might be throwing some arancini in there. I'm not entirely sure, but this is not a culinary podcast.
Well, arancini
I mean, it
is
can
just
be.
arancini is just deep fried old risotto.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it's delicious.
It
It's
is
so
delicious.
good.
God damn it. Now I gotta look up who's open after we finish this podcast. So
You up? I need some arancini, baby.
So yeah, we get a bit of fish out of water vibes from this scene where Hanlon is at a garden party and Margaret is being flirted with relatively heavily from by a square-jawed, blonde-haired Harvard attendee.
Harvard
we
man.
learn. What was that?
Harvard man.
Harvard man, like Condor Man, but he has the powers of a
Nepotism.
Ivy League institution.
He has the powers to masturbate in a coffin.
Correct. That's
Yeah.
a good one. I like the shit out of that.
Yeah. Just
so-
like George W. Bush.
Yeah. So Hanlon's already annoyed watching this guy flirt with Margaret, and then a little bit later on he overhears the guy talking about to another group of people how Hanlon likely doesn't bathe regularly, and so Hanlon responds proportionally, in my opinion. He walks up and he's like, you want to know how I bathe? This is how I bathe, and throws a drink in the man's face and then punches him.
Which is correct to do.
100% Now, this does not go over super well. Margaret blows up on Hanlon.
Well, you can't just
Hanlon-
go around punching Harvard men.
Yeah, Hanlon kisses her. She slaps him, and then has the butler throw him off of the premises. So there is another race that occurs after this, and Hanlon is super broken up about this situation with Margaret. So he is fucking hammered.
This is the funniest scene in the movie too.
It is really funny. The scenes where there's like the camera's just trained on Nick Cage, who looks super hungover. He looks as hungover as I've felt sometimes after maybe, I don't know, for sake of argument, an emo night or something like that.
For me, it was Tuesday.
Yeah, he's having a rough time of it. And it looks like he is going to clearly be beaten by a guy who pretends to cramp up. And then the next dude in line who's about to overtake Hanlon just tips his boat over. And it looks like everyone's trying to throw the race for Hanlon, probably because everybody had money on Hanlon.
Well, yeah, there is a scene before this where it is confirmed that all of the other racers are just like, I can't beat this guy. So they all bet on Hanlon.
Absolutely.
I don't know if this ever actually happened. I couldn't find any proof, but like, it's Canada in the 1870s. I'm assuming just everybody is hammered.
And their beer averages at like 7% ABV on the low end. Absolutely.
And everybody's cheating on gambling. So it kind of tracks. It is a very funny scene. Hanlon is taken away from the race at the end on a stretcher, probably to receive treatment from alcohol poisoning. And Knox reiterates his offer to McCoy, who turns him down again. So Hanlon goes back to his booze running. He returns from a delivery to his boathouse, which appears abandoned. He goes to wash the grease paint or soot off of his face. That's part of his booze running outfit, and is ambushed by a cop who shoves his head into a barrel of water and then sticks a revolver in his mouth before arresting him. I don't think that's protocol, personally.
I mean, are you a cop? Do you know what protocol is?
I know you're probably not supposed to stick a firearm in a suspect's mouth when you're just trying to arrest him, but, you know, what the fuck do I know?
I mean, look, according to all those warrior cop videos, that's exactly what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear 40% of cops do that. Google 40% of cops.
Yeah, no. Hanlon was actually arrested by 40% of the Canadian police. Look up cops 40% for more information on that. It's a very interesting story.
Yep, absolutely. So Hanlon is imprisoned, and McCoy comes to see him in jail and tells him he should take the deal with Knox or else he'll be stuck in jail. McCoy says Knox is the one who set this whole thing up. He's why you're in jail. You have the bones to be the best sculler in the world, but if you spend a year in jail, you know, that's over. That's a missed opportunity. He also indicates that Knox is going to offer him basically a finder's fee, like a flat one-time payment to just go the fuck away as Hanlon's current manager. And McCoy tells him, take the deal. So Hanlon initially balks at this offer, but McCoy talks him around, and Hanlon's like, you know, take him for that $500. And McCoy, as he's walking out, is like, are you kidding me? I talked him up to $750. He's like, yeah, there you go. So we got a little bit of a game recognized game here between McCoy and Hanlon. It's halfway touching. It's a shame how the relationship develops from here until the very end, but that's why you have us here to tell you about it. So Hanlon is then reviewing the terms of contract with Knox and his gang of old dudes who gamble and do business. As far as I can tell, business and gambling is essentially the same thing in this cinematic universe.
I mean, isn't it in general?
All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
The scene very much reads the same as, like, remember the scene in Black Dynamite when all of the drug dealers are together?
Oh,
and they're like,
I'm going after I sell drugs in the community.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Black
Yeah.
Dynamite, I sell drugs in this
I'm
community.
going after everyone who sells drugs in the community.
So, Margaret actually connives her way into this meeting and cleverly indicates to Hanlon that he should probably have a lawyer of his own look over this contract before he signs it, because the terms are not in his favor, as you would expect, given the fact that Knox has written up this contract.
She does it pretty sly too. Like she's spying on him through the door, and then she takes over the coffee service that one of the servants is about to bring in.
Yeah, and she does. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, as like the uncle is like, I'll have 2 lumps. She just kind of blurts that out, and then Hanlon's like, oh shit, I guess. Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty slick. I do want to point out though, because this is Canada, they call lawyers solicitors.
I do find that pretty funny.
But they don't call them money loonies, so it's like I don't know how Canadian this is.
So Hanlon then finds Margaret in the gardens just snipping flowers, which is an activity, I guess, at this point in time, to thank her. She is vaguely insulting to him, but there is a good line here where she's like, yeah, no, you're not even edifying, or something like that. And he's like, I'd be edifying. Just tell me what that means and I can be it.
I love a good himbo.
Yeah. Yo,
he's just a himbo.
Is full on himbo before we had a term for it. It's pretty solid. But Hanlon gets a new trainer who's just an old, incredibly Irish guy doing a full-on Mr. Miyagi on him, to the point that from here on out, Hanlon wears a fucking headband like the Karate Kid. He's the sculling headband. Kid. What was that?
A blue headband specifically.
Well, he's the boy in blue, so
such a big boy in blue.
Hanlon, say what you will about Hanlon, he understood branding, right?
Yeah.
So then we get a Hanlon race montage. It's the first of several montages in the film, but not my favorite montage. We will get to that later. We see him winning. We see Knox counting absurd piles of money from his winnings. Also, because this is old timey and plus it's weird Canadian dollars, I love how broad the bills are.
I love the feel of a Canadian dollar.
Well, they
feel like plastic. Yeah.
I used to have to go to Canada a lot for work, like 2 years ago, and I used to love having Canadian paper money.
Booze runner.
I was a booze runner. Yeah.
Why didn't you ever bring me any poutine?
I would
eat that shit up there.
Yeah.
I'm not a very well-traveled individual. In fact, legally, I'm restricted on leaving the state of New Jersey, not because of any sort of probation or anything like that, just because Jersey doesn't want me spreading to other states. But Canada is one of the countries I do want to visit, and it's solely because of poutine.
No, Canada fucks. Like, Canada absolutely has sex on a nightly basis.
As I said previously, average ABV of their beer is like 7%.
Yeah. Also, I do like the fact that their national sport, hockey, is the only professional sport that actively encourages and has rules surrounding fighting, which I think should exist in all sports.
I love a nice hockey fight, especially when they take off, their sharp shoes and try to stab each other with them.
Also, since we're talking about a sports movie, one of my favorite sports movies of all time, Goon.
Oh, Goon is so good.
There's so many good hockey movies. I mean, everybody says Slapshot, but like Youngblood is real underrated.
Mm-hmm. Fucking Happy Gilmore is technically one.
Happy Gilmore is technically
a movie.
It's a golf movie that's about hockey. It's about how awesome hockey is.
Fair.
It's about how slap shots are better in golf, technically.
I've found it less entertaining since I started trying to learn how to play golf.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's a hockey movie. It's not a golf movie.
That's fair. I'll accept that. But yeah, no, Goon, one of my favorites. Also a the loose biopic like this is.
Yeah,
It is
yeah,
about
it
a real
is.
dude who climbed down from the stands to fight on the ice and then got a job.
I didn't realize that
Outfit-
was a real dude. Okay,
Yeah,
that's funny as hell.
it is based on a real dude who, yes, who basically learned to skate in his 20s.
Yeah, he was
Dope.
just a psycho who was good at fighting. They're like, we got to put you on the ice. He's like, I don't know how to do that. They're like, that is ancillary to our goals here.
You're just going out to fight people. And as
100%.
somebody who played ice hockey for a majority of their life, that is how fights happen. Is just like, you want to go? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Like that is 80% of hockey fights.
So Hanlon throws himself into training. It's relatively entertaining. They have like, so nowadays I feel like everybody is familiar, even if you're not particularly fitness minded. Rowing machines are a thing. You can get them for relatively cheap. They're like just hydraulic things. They have the slidey seat. That's very important. But Hanlon is practicing on the earliest version of one of these rowing machines, which means it looks like a statue pedestal with like a big goofy wheel on it and shit.
Yeah. Yeah, it uses like air resistance or something. I looked into it. It's
And
actually
he's-
kind of cool.
I mean, it is cool, but I do also love, again, there is some class consciousness here because Hanlon is doing this on a lawn while Knox and his like trainer and like an investment partner are having brunch and watching him. And meanwhile, Margaret is going on a horseback ride with her Harvard blonde-haired, lantern-jawed boy, which spurs Hanlon on to aggressive training on this machine, which again is set up in a garden, a massive structure, while rich guys watch him do this while slurping down oysters. It's ridiculous.
God, don't talk about oysters. I crave them so much, but they destroy me inside.
Oh, they're so fucking good.
They're so good, and I can't have them.
So, Margaret at this point receives a present from a not so secret admirer. It is a picnic basket that has a puppy in it. And so of course she seeks out Hanlon, who is training. He's doing sit-ups on a bench in a horse barn while like holding dumbbells.
Like
Of course
it looks like the Karate Kid at this point.
he's shirtless.
Yeah.
He's got the blue headband and everything. And she thanks him for the puppy, indicates she's naming him Rowboat. And this is the scene where we get the full bare upper body pan up of Cage here. They knew what they were fucking doing.
Oh yeah, so that's actually, this movie was like very criticized in Canada because they're just like, this dude's a Canadian hero. They should have had a Canadian actor, not an American who just wanted to take his shirt off every 3 seconds.
I'm sorry, Ryan Reynolds wasn't famous then.
Yeah.
All right. Given the fact that I didn't enjoy this movie as much as I'm assuming the creators wanted me to, I would absolutely watch a remake of Boy in Blue starring Ryan Reynolds.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, and also speaking of Ryan Reynolds, here's an ad for Mint Mobile, maybe.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Here you
Yeah.
go. Listen.
Yeah.
Speak to us, Ryan.
I thought it was going to be Mint Mobile, but they really hit him with the Wrexham ad.
I
Ryan.
can't shit on that, man.
Now, I watched that whole show. Now I like Wrexham, and I'm prepared to be disappointed at all times
There you go.
because I only like bad sports teams. It's my thing. I'm a 76ers fan. It's the worst.
I was gonna say, so you're a Mets fan.
No, I only watch the Philly teams, and it's pretty heart-wrenching all the time.
I mean,
Yeah, well.
their soccer team's apparently pretty good from what I've heard from soccer fans.
Hey, soccer's not a real sport.
That's fair. What do you mean? It's
No,
actually
I
football.
actually-
It's football where they just use their feet. That's fucking crazy, man.
I am
I
looking
actually love
forward to
soccer.
our European numbers dropping in
Yeah.
the next fucking summer.
Yeah, no,
league.
football, legitimate football, is the only one of like two sports I will actually sit down and watch a full
Yeah, no,
match of.
I actually I love soccer. There's something about it that's like fucking
It's
great.
very it's charming when they actually score. It's the most hype shit.
Yeah, I hate the Americans that are just like, it's so slow. It's like, no, it's not. It's nonstop. You know, it's slow American football. I can't watch that. I can't take the all right, we're gonna play a game for 6 seconds and we're gonna stop for 40.
American football is only interesting in the context of Blood Bowl.
Yes, agreed.
Like only when there's little plastic men on the field, and most of them are goblins. Am I
Or
interested?
orcs, yes.
Or orcs, yes. Correct.
But also $1 Patreon. Patreon.com/Nick
yeah.
Cage Fight. Go sign up, dummies. Okay.
Before Rich rescinds this absurd deal, I have no control over it. It's in our contracts. I can't do anything about it, people. So do it before he yanks it away from you. But also, Blitz. This is a solid football game. I would like to see some of that in real
Oh, I
life.
loved NFL Blitz.
Or Mutant League football.
Yeah.
Mutant League hockey was the shit.
It was. I love it when a hockey stick has a can opener on the end that you can use to stab people.
All right, but back to a less interesting sport.
Yeah. So this is also the scene where Margaret reveals that her flirtations with Hanlon were done under the explicit direction of her uncle, and that she is actually engaged to be married to that blonde Harvard fuck that we have been conditioned to hate at this point. I don't even know his name, but I hope he dies.
He wears bad hats.
I hope he drowns in a lake.
I hope he dies in a house fire.
Hanlon agrees. He also comes to the conclusion that he doesn't need anybody. So we cut to the Charles River in Boston. Hanlon's trial times aren't as good as they had hoped to beat the champion in the Boston race, which is an Aussie, the mustachioed man with the slightly lazy eye. And so the investors in Knox's group talk about how Hanlon doesn't seem to have the spark that they were hoping for. And there is some conversation about the Knox's niece and how she's no longer stringing him along, according to Knox, because she caught some amount of feelings for this guy. So McCoy tells Hanlon that he made an attempt to get the Aussie frontrunner drunk to make him lose the next day, but Hanlon is pissed, saying he can win without cheating. And McCoy reveals
what he is Australian. His blood is 9% alcohol.
Yeah,
that is not well thought out.
They've got those big cans of fucking Fosters. They're gigantic.
And the rest of his blood is just scorpion venom, as far as I know.
Yeah, have you ever met an Australian? They don't die.
They don't die. Like their average cutest animal has chlamydia. Not lying.
Do not
they
get me
bleed
started
different.
on koalas.
Koalas are
hated animal in the entirety of the animal kingdom.
How can you hate them? They have chlamydia and they just want to get fucked up on eucalyptus all day.
Because they're the dumbest result of evolution. Their primary food source is toxic to them, so they have chronic diarrhea. They all have chlamydia. Their brains are rotted through from inbreeding and their diet.
I've got a Japanese exploitation movie that I need to let you borrow called Executive Koala, about a man who is a koala who might have killed his wife.
It sounds fucking amazing.
It's wild.
I hate koalas.
I love them. They're so stupid. And they're all fucked up on STDs. And
did you know that koalas are so stupid? Their survival instinct is so low. If you were to pluck leaves, their primary food source off of a tree, put it on a plate, and put it in front of them, they would die of starvation before they
I
ate
was
the leaves
aware of
off
that,
the
but their
plate.
ears are gigantic and so fluffy.
Also, fun fact, koala fingerprints are incredibly close to humans, to the point that
That
they have
is a fucking
confused-
plot point in Executive Koala.
they have confused human detectives trying to solve crimes.
That's fucking amazing.
It's so good. Yes.
They're
Yes,
the
yes,
worst
yes.
animal.
Okay. No, there's definitely worse animals.
Name one.
Jellyfish.
Jellyfish are practically immortal. That is
Some
cooler
jellyfish
than
are
anything than
practically
any
immortal.
koala bear has ever done.
And
You're
hang on,
telling
what
me of-
I'm hearing is that koala bears say ACAB. So that is what
They
I'm
do.
hearing.
Yeah. No. Look,
No, koala
koalas
bears are
fucking
not
rule.
able to articulate ACAB because their brains are feverish from chlamydia.
Yeah, no,
and
koalas
inbreeding.
rule. They're all fucked up on STDs and eucalyptus. I love them.
They're terrible. They're terrible. They're my least favorite animal.
You're wrong.
No, I am right. All right. Next Patreon episode, us debating koala bears.
Us
and how
debating what is
every
the-
other animal
what
in
is
the
the
animal
worst
kingdom is
animal.
cooler than koalas.
But we could just do a what's the worst animal fucking podcast for Patreon.
Sure. Fine.
But it's
Koalas
just
are going to win.
No, they're
Worst
not.
animal. The
Their
first
ears are
thing
so big and so
It's just gonna
wide.
turn
will
into us
ever
defending
win
koalas.
is worst animal.
riddled with chlamydia.
I did not expect this particular quirk of mine to be exposed in this episode.
Yeah, I didn't know this was such a bee in your bonnet.
Oh my god. We'll get into it, but behind a paywall, because
Yeah.
I cannot say the words I want to say in our free tier about how I feel about koalas. Meanwhile, this drunk Aussie bastard sorry. So the day of the race, Hanlon, who is super annoyed at Knox and McCoy's willingness to try and cheat to allow him to win, goes to see his Aussie competitor, and cleverly points out some boat sabotage that has been inflicted on his sliding chair, trying to go for a fair race, right?
Yeah.
At the betting lines, Knox is made aware of Hanlon's lack of complicity in his schemes, and tries to bet on this Aussie champ instead of Hanlon, but he's too late. The race has started. During the race, this part I thought was really funny. The Aussie is constantly shit talking Hanlon during the race, and Hanlon gets his blood up and he rams the Aussie's boat, knocking him over, which results in a foul being called, which I didn't know was a fucking thing in rowboat fights.
Yeah, that was
but
news
it
to
is.
me.
I thought it was like battle bots. If you could
Okay.
destroy your opponent's boat, you're
Now that
then
you
win.
mentioned rowboat fights, I literally just want a movie about rowboat jousting.
Ooh, I would watch that. I would. So at this point, a rowboat tribunal is called. Weird, esoteric group that is infinitely concerned about the ethics and
of the game.
rules applied to rowboat racing. And they decide to ban Hanlon from racing for life in America, period, which is fucking crazy.
And that seems very funny to
Well,
me
just
too.
the US specifically.
No,
Like,
and
yeah.
Canada.
was it and Canada? I
And
thought they
Canada.
specifically said it was just the United States.
No,
No,
it was
it
all
was-
North America.
Okay.
Well, that
So
I
it's
mean,
fine to do it in Mexico.
in the movie they explicitly state America. However, in the movie, Hanlon never races in Canada again explicitly, at least until maybe the epilogue, but they're not very specific in that. So Hanlon returns to Canada drunk and unhappy, as many native Canadians returning to Canada end up back there as. But the Canadians welcome Hanlon back with another crowd in town singing some Canada song. I'm not overly familiar with their customs and songs, but it makes Hanlon tear up. Hanlon finds, and also, Rich, this is important to what you said because this is where there's a bit of a break in the suspension of disbelief. Hanlon tracks down Walter, the inventor of this slidey seat, after his return to Canada.
Right.
Where when he
Yeah.
originally found him was in Philadelphia, and he asks Walter to coach him, which Walter begrudgingly agrees to. And so they devise a plan to have Hanlon race in England for the World Championship on the Thames. They call it the Thames. Is that the correct
I
pronunciation?
think it's the Thames.
But it's spelled the Thames, right?
I think it's spelled Tymes.
I thought it was Thames.
Thames River? Oh, hang on. I still have Google Maps up for some reason.
That's
because one of
fine.
the things I do in my spare time, because I'm fucking weird, is I just look at things on Google Maps.
I mean, some people have made very lucrative YouTube careers out of being able to figure out where a picture was taken from using Google Maps. So maybe you're onto something.
It is the Thames. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, they call it the Thames for the rest of this movie. So I'm an ignorant American. I don't know how it's pronounced. I know how it's spelled.
Oh, yeah. I'm dumb as shit. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, you're listening to a bunch of idiots rant about Nick Cage movies. If you're not acclimated to this yet, check out our backlog. You know what I mean?
tell us we're idiots.
So,
Please bully me. I might come.
So Walter agrees, and we get a motherfucking training montage. This is my favorite montage of the film. It includes parallel hoop exercises and high knees, which is great. I think that's in the fucking trailer, as well as the push up and clap push ups. Those are awesome. But yeah, we get a Nick Cage training montage, and it's fantastic. Hanlon and Walter stop by Knox's place. Hanlon learns that Margaret's wedding is that weekend. Walter goads Knox into by the way, Knox has purchased the Aussie champion at this point in the same fashion he did with Hanlon. And Walter goads Knox into agreeing to a race for the world championship by offering up his patent on the sliding seat as a side bet. Hanlon sees Margaret riding off in a carriage with a Harvard boy and clambers on, chases after it, clambers on, professes his love for Margaret. He gets knocked off the carriage. Margaret stops, runs to check on him. He's fine. He again tries to insist she doesn't marry this guy, but she rides off with him. That night, though, Margaret is reconsidering everything that occurred that day and hears her uncle and her fiance talking about some sort of fix they might have in for this race in England. So Margaret sneaks out and goes to the boathouse, Hanlon's boathouse, where he's sleeping. She wakes him up and tells him that her uncle is planning something and explains this is the only reason why she came, and she goes to leave. Well, you know probably what happens from here. She doesn't leave. She stays. Her and Hanlon bang. It happens. And then we
There's
get to
boobies.
Oh, yeah, actually. This is the sole exposed breasts we get in the film. So the next morning, Margaret is in various states of undress in Hanlon's bed, and Knox shows up at the boathouse. There's a relatively comical scene where Margaret hides behind the bed. Hanlon throws her, or sorry, not behind the bed, behind a dresser. Hanlon throws her clothes over the dresser to her, and then has a conversation with Knox. Knox offers Hanlon $10,000 to throw the race and he will guarantee in writing a rematch, fair and square for Hanlon in the future. Hanlon agrees outright just to get Knox the fuck out of his house before Margaret gets spotted. And then we cut directly from the scene to a wedding scene. Margaret comes out of a chapel. People are throwing rice. Everybody has weird top hats on. But it is not Harvard Boy that exits the church with her. It is Hanlon.
A whirlwind romance.
It's a dude's
very
rock moment.
quick and unceremonious call off of an engagement.
That is a dude's rock moment. Yeah.
That is a dude's rock moment. Knox is furious about this union and is complaining to McCoy. Hanlon sent back the $10,000 to Knox with a note that says he rose to win. So Knox offers McCoy the 10 grand to sabotage the race, saying if he doesn't, somebody else will. That's what he finds comforting about human nature, which is probably one of the deeper lines in this film.
Yeah, this movie is about as deep as a puddle, but that was pretty good.
Yeah, that one strikes home a bit. I'll give him credit for that, right? So we get to the upcoming race in England, and Walter tells Hanlon beforehand that his patent on the sliding seat is on the line in an effort to encourage him to do his best. So the race starts, and during the race, where Hanlon is in the lead, he realizes that one of his weird oar anchors is loose, and he has to stop rowing to try and adjust it. He quickly retakes the lead after this, but the hinge is still messed up. There are a number of people following in non-rowboats to view the race. Among them is McCoy, who at this point dives off of his boat and swims over to where Hanlon is and provides a tool to tighten the loosened piece of hinge on the oar, and Hanlon takes off again. Now, I personally am not sure how that in and of itself isn't a disqualifying action in a race, but nobody seems to give a shit. So I stopped giving a shit.
I assumed it was like pit crew bullshit. Like,
yeah, it was weird, right?
Yeah.
But nobody cared. Hanlon, of course, goes on to win the race. Afterwards, Hanlon thanks McCoy for his help. McCoy and Dulcie walk off, but are cornered by some of Knox's goon who start beating on McCoy. Dulcie informs Hanlon, who runs to McCoy's aid, and they square up to fight off the goons. McCoy and Hanlon are standing together, and McCoy says, you take the two on the left, there's only two goons. And we get a classic 80s action movie ending where he's like, you thinking what I'm thinking? Aim for the bushes. That's right. Freeze frame as they bring their fists up to their chins.
I love that freeze frame.
I love a Rocky 3 ending.
Yeah. Yep. I want to bring up that during that final chase, or that final race, the music inexplicably has synthesizer in it, even though the rest of the music for the rest of the movie has all been period appropriate.
It's beautiful.
It really threw me for a loop in a way that I kind of appreciated.
So after the freeze frame, we're treated to some more text. Hanlon went on to win 200 consecutive races defending his championship, retired, ran for office, I'm assuming in Canada, and was elected in a landslide.
Yeah, he was an alderman in Toronto based on my research.
There you go.
And by research, I mean reading his Wikipedia.
I'm not going to lie. I went into this movie expecting to be furious and upset and bored the entirety of the time, and was pleasantly surprised to find that wasn't the case. Is this a good movie? I wouldn't necessarily say that. I would leave that up to the suits in Washington or Toronto.
Or Ottawa.
Yeah. But all things considered, this was more entertaining of a film given its subject matter than it had any right to be.
It actually really reminded me of a 1979 movie called Breaking Away that I expected to hate. It was just like on a list of movies that you got to watch before you die. And I threw it on one day. It's about like bicycle racing, and the main character is obsessed with like Italy, and it's kind of fucking weird, but it's got some good comedy. And it had like the same vibe as this, in that I was expecting to kind of hate it, but ended up on the other side being like, all right, it was all right.
All right.
It's like a B movie, not like a B bad movie, but like rating A down to F B movie. Yeah, Jerry Seinfeld's not here. He's not cucking Patrick Warburton.
What a weird movie.
It is a weird movie. It's got a lot of bestiality.
I feel weird defending this film because, like I said, it seemed a little schizophrenic in its approach, in that a majority of it was essentially a sports movie for children, but it has some weird adult sex scenes involved.
I think it was meant to be like a family film for Canada, because that dude's like a Canadian hero.
And to be fair, everything that I've seen from his real life, a true Canadian hero, like Ryan Reynolds. So
or Wolverine.
Or Wolverine. I wouldn't explicitly recommend this, but if for some reason a weird period piece biopic with a little bit of comedy and raunch is what you're craving, fucking throw it on.
Or if you're like the coach for a rowing team in high school and you need to throw a movie on because somebody got an injury, this is the one to do it.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. This is far from one of the strongest entries we've covered so far, but it also wasn't as weak as I expected it to be. And it's one of those things where like you underestimate your opponent and come away with a newfound respect. That is my position on this film. I underestimated the boy in blue, and he hit me in the face with an oar.
He boy and blew you away.
Won the exchange necessarily, but I do have a certain level of respect, right?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, right.
That's and the first 30 minutes of this movie, I actually thought we were gonna come across like this might be like one of those sneaky good ones. It never got sneaky good, but like it wasn't next.
It was sneaky, not bad.
Yeah.
Which I will accept on this current creative journey that we're on.
Yeah.
Speaking of, what do we got next?
Yes, I am super curious.
Oh, I already did this, and it's a movie that Josh, you've brought up more than once as a movie that you want to watch.
Oh, I'm terrified.
Which is Bangkok Dangerous.
Oh, I remember this one being a trashy good time. This might end up on the good time. This might end up being one of those stealthy excellent ones because I haven't seen this since it came out.
I've never seen it, so I'm excited about this.
Oh, I already know Ryan's gonna like it.
I mean, I already know I do. I have seen it before.
Yeah, just so we have a double director.
Wait,
do we?
We do, yeah.
Yeah, we have a duo director, and both of the directors contributed to the writing. And it looks like this definitely has some influence outside of American cinema.
Oh, definitely. I think these were Hong Kong or Chinese directors, depending on if when this was originally made.
Or the Pang brothers.
Oh, okay.
They were born in Hong Kong in 1965.
Okay, yeah.
The one director doesn't actually have
what the fuck? This is the remake. This is a remake of one of their earlier films.
Okay.
I have to watch both.
I mean, yeah, I'm also going to watch both. I watched both Bad Lieutenants.
There's one from 2000, and then there's the 2008 one with Nicolas Cage, and they directed both, which is weird to see filmmakers remaking their own shit. Also, there's a dude in this that's just called James With, not like Like the actor's name is James with With. What is up with that last name?
And his character's name is Chicago. Is he
Yeah.
playing the city?
Weird.
Yeah, it's like a weird mother situation.
Oh, I'm excited. Oh, he was in fucking Independence Day too, and fucking Rambo.
Oh, is he one of the cops?
He's missionary number 5 in
Oh,
Rambo.
weird.
That is weird. No, I'm excited for Bangkok Dangerous. This might we have a soft spot in our hearts for these weird films that are actually incredibly well done and not widely recognized. That I think is our actual cry into the void with this podcast is, watch Between Worlds, watch Kill Chain,
Yeah,
maybe
that-
watch Bangkok Dangerous.
We'll see.
To find out where we land on that, listeners, tune in next time.
I mean,
We're
hang on.
covering
It
this
does
one.
have a 9% approval rate. That is going to be right up our alley.
Oh, baby. I love to see numbers that low.
Wait. Let me go to Rotten Tomatoes and see if that is critics or like people who are not critics. The normies.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
I am curious. Some of these scores are extraordinarily low. The meta score is a 24.
okay, yeah, it's a 9% from critics, 26% from audience. But you know what else had a low audience score? And they were wrong.
Fucking
Drive
Between
Angry.
Worlds. Oh, Drive Angry was real low.
They were wrong about that. Drive Angry whipped ass.
It really did. Where
What
is
was-
Drive Angry 2, for Christ's sake?
What was Between Worlds? Hang on.
It was like
Between-
20. It was like 28, I think.
No, 32% from critics, 80% audience score. People know what
Okay.
the fuck is up.
Should have
The
been a
people were
fucking
correct that
100.
time. Yeah. I
All
think
right.
Now,
I may have
just out
mentioned
of
this
curious,
before,
I have to see
but,
what Kill Chain was.
yeah, what is Kill Chain? But I may have mentioned this before. I have
35. Get the fuck out of here.
dude I work with who apparently watched every Nick Cage movie that was available a couple of years ago, and he was amazed that I liked Between Worlds, which is wild to me. Like, how
Between
do you?
Worlds was fantastic.
Between Worlds is one of my favorite films of all time now.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, but
I-
that's very unsurprising to me.
Yeah, no. The anybody who has a problem with Between Worlds, I feel like hasn't just seen enough film at that point. I don't know what to tell you if you don't like that film.
You're
mean, I'm
wrong.
excited.
You tell them you're wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm excited for Bangkok Dangerous. Listeners, I hope you are excited as well while you're waiting for us to get those episodes out. Please feel free to follow us on social media. You can find us on Twitter at cagefight_pod. We have an amazing deal on the Patreon. We have dropped our $3 tier to a $1 tier purely at the discretion of Rich, who is liable to go off and increase it to $100 for the tier. I don't know when or if that would ever happen, but if I were you, I would not base my decision on the stability of Rich. Rich, what is our Patreon?
No, I'm a straight wild card.
Yeah.
Patreon.com/Nick Cage Fight. $1 a fucking month will get you every episode that we have recorded without ads. So if you don't like those ads, give us $1. Yeah, it's a fucking dollar. Give it to me. It's $1.
For $12 a year, you can listen to all of our shit without ads. And really, what are you going to spend those $12 on? Drugs?
Dick
You
pills.
can't even get a good amount of drugs for that amount of money.
I mean, you can get like 2 packs of Rhino 42069.
You can get 1 pack of Newports a year, depending on your state and their taxation. I'm just saying.
I mean,
man.
probably 2 packs if you live in Virginia.
There you go. This is a fucking steal, people. Okay.
you can also just send us a pack of Newports. That's fine.
Yeah,
If
we'll
you
smoke
send
them
us
on
a pack of
stream.
Newports, we'll give you we'll give you the episodes.
We'll smoke the whole thing, Bobby Hill style.
Yeah, we might do it live. If you do that, we might do it live. Also, maybe try not to run afoul of any fucking state laws. Yeah, we do not provide legal services. But thank you for tuning in. Check out our next episodes that are going to cover Bangkok Dangerous. And as always, listeners, please, if you take anything away from this podcast, besides the fact that Nick Cage rules and is a good actor, take away the fact that we appreciate you.
Oh no, did Ryan freeze?
Bye-bye.